Where this dirty road is taking me. Sometimes I don't even know the reason why. But I guess I keep a gambling, lots of booze and lots of rambling. Well, it's easier than just a waiting around to die. Oh, one time, friends, I had a mom, even had a pa. Well, he beat her with a belt once, 'cause she cried. She told him to take care of me, headed down to Tennessee. Well, it's easier than just a waiting around to die. I came of age and I found a girl in a Tuscaloosa bar. Oh, she cleaned me out and hit it on the slide. Well, I tried to kill the pain. I bought some wine and hopped a train. It seemed easier than just a waiting around to die. Then a friend said he knew where some easy money was. We robbed a man and brother did we fly. But the posse caught up with me and drug me back to Muskogee. And it's 2 long years of waiting around to die. Oh, but now I'm out of prison. I got me a friend at last. He don't drink or steal or cheat or lie. Oh, his name's Codeine. He's the nicest thing I've seen. Well, together we're gonna wait around and die. Yeah, together we're gonna wait around and die. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Been a couple weeks, I know. Anyway, hello to everyone. Weird World 71. Will Riley, how you doing, honey? Um, BB, good to see you, doll. Uh, Betty, so happy to see you, sweetheart. Urban, my boy. Barb, how you doing, honey? Blues. Oh, Blues. Your internet's shaky. Yeah. It's okay, honey. Okay, everybody. Um, even though I'm like ADHD brain, we're gonna try to stay on topic tonight. Um, okay, 71. That's fine. Um, let's see. Okie dokie, y'all. Gonna get to the topic at hand. Okie dokie, y'all. Gonna get to the topic at hand. Okay. Well, you don't need a wrench to feel safe in a chat. But okay. Well, you don't need a wrench. But we'll, if you don't feel safe, then by all means, I'm not giving out a wrench to everybody who just, you know, feels they're entitled to a wrench. So it's not how it's going to go. So anyway, Okay. Hey, Southern Lady. Good to see you. I trust the people that currently have wrenches. They wouldn't let anybody down. You know what I mean? Hey, Deputy. Anyway, we're going to talk about addiction tonight. Um, I know that I say that it touches everyone, and it does because there's many things you can be addicted to. Addiction is not relegated just to drugs or alcohol. Cigarettes are addiction. Food can be an addiction. Love, believe it or not, and relationships can be an addiction for some. Um, the addiction is, the release of the dopamine, right? And that dopamine high. The, um, it's a chemical thing. Addiction affects everybody. Now, there can be people. There's people that aren't addicted to anything. Yes, exactly, Southern Lady. Addiction to the internet. Addiction to chocolate. Yes, your addiction to ice cream and Legos will. You see, there you go, Dippity. You're addicted to cigarettes and Diet Dr. Pepper. Um, hey, if you crave it and you need it so bad, it's an addiction. No. You are addicted to
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah,
that's where I'm judging. Regular Dr. Pepper.
You're being judgmental about the Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, it has a slightly different taste and it does not sit well with me.
Okay, but Dr. Pepper's okay to be addicted to.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to kill you unless you have diabetes.
Yeah, unless you have diabetes, right? Well, thus the Diet Dr. Pepper, you know?
Still going to judge that.
Yes, anything can be addicting. And that's the thing. It's like
you have an addiction to talking.
Oh yes, I have obviously I have an addiction.
We can't get you to shut up.
I have an addiction to procreating and making mouthy children, obviously.
You just had to, didn't you?
Hey, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
You're just gross.
But anything can be addictive. It's whether that dopamine releases, whether it doesn't, Oh, yeah. Very cold soda, right? It's just when the addictions take over your life, when it makes your life miserable or so unmanageable that, and it's not just that, it's the effect on everyone around you, right? Okay, 71. Just because I will not give you your wrench back, you don't want to be friends, and that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry, but friendship shouldn't, be friendship. It shouldn't have any price tags on it. Oh, OG come in? Hey, OG. No, you're not blocked, OG. Why would you be blocked? It just happened to say. I'd rather not go into details about why I removed it. That is between me and 71 and nobody's business. Are you okay? Ginger says, AJ. Hey, AJ. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I was just going to talk about um, addiction. Yes, thank you very much, Blues. Let's stay on topic. Okay. Um, anyway, addiction is, no matter what your addiction is, when it becomes such a problem, um, that it takes over your life, right? Um, and there's people. Let's be quite honest. Anybody who knows anything about like AA or NA or any of that, 12-step programs, and I will keep things private because no matter what, that's my girl and I respect her. And I love her. Um, but I'm not going to be derailed from my topic. So, or disrespected in my own chat. So I'm just going to keep it classy and keep it moving. So, anyway, anybody who knows anything about those programs, some people don't need those programs to fight their addictions, but a good majority do because it brings order to chaos, right? Because when you are living in your addiction, um, it's chaotic, right? And if you have something that gives you a definitive game plan, it helps pull everything together. And that's why like 12-step programs and stuff like that works well for some people because it helps them sort through the chaos, right? Um, I'm not going to lie. I have never had a problem. Or, I have an addiction. I smoke. I'm trying to break that addiction, right? I'm trying to overcome that. But as far as like drugs or alcohol, which are the more definitive ones where that everyone classifies it with, I've never had a problem with those. But I can understand it profoundly. Um, some of you don't know, and some do. Um, I grew up in just utter chaos. Okay. Uh, uh, my parents were alcoholics. Okay. My mother was also a drug addict. And I don't mean she was strung out on crack or whatever. It was hers was prescription pills. Now, a lot of people back in the day didn't think, hey, if it's a prescription, you should be okay, right? You're not an addict, right? Um, no, hers was diazepam, which is better known as Valium, right? Valium, like Xannies are today, right? And diet pills, believe it or not. She was addicted to them. So that was uppers and downers. And she would drink at work and drink on the weekends. Um, yeah, sugar is probably one of the most, you know, some people are addicted to carbs too. Oh, it's okay, everybody. I used to A for a while when I quit drinking years ago, and I was on the right track. I was able to leave, and I don't. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Like I said, it just offers that order to chaos that some people need, right? Order to the chaos. And, you know, um, I know people tend to become judgmental or, like try to shame people for their addictions. And it does no good. I mean, anybody that knows the struggle. I mean, like I said, I didn't suffer from that addiction, but there's still shame in my addiction, right? Um, they'll tell you when you go through like rehab and stuff like that, that, and there's a reason I know what they say in rehab. My mother was in rehab, my stepdad, um, and there was family counseling in that rehab center. So I, I actually absorbed the information. I sat there and listened. I would go to AA meetings with my mother. Um, my mother thought it was really important that I didn't head down that path. Because by the time that she got sober, I was 11, 12. I'm thinking 11. Because she stopped drinking, but she didn't stop the diet pills and the diazepam. So she didn't totally, she quit one addiction, but didn't quit the other two. And anybody who's went through this knows that you can, what do they call it? There's transfer from one addiction to another, right? Like you can go from smoking to eating candy all the time. And yeah, then you have a sugar addiction because it's an oral fixation. I haven't smoked in 10 years. That is awesome, Weird World. That is awesome. See, and that's the thing. Um, Knowing that almost everybody has their own addiction. Um, there shouldn't be any shame in it, but there is. You know what I mean? Um, and here's the thing. I remember, like, I used to have long talks with my mom. She went through. She went back to school after rehab, and she went to school for years to become a licensed alcohol and abuse counselor. So, um, after going through all that, she went through all that and did it for about a year. And then they started shutting down and defunding rehab programs. This was the early 90s. They started shutting them down. So it put her out of her field that she studied for 5 years, right? Yeah, and there's so many things out there. I mean, it's dangerous. It's so many of these things are dangerous, but the effect that it has on others. My ex-husband too. I divorced him after 7 years of trying to keep up. We had a 3-year-old at the time. She's 22 now. I stayed away from dating for years. Remarried a jerk in 2017. Divorced in 2019. Hey Kelly, how you doing, honey? Oh, good for her, Kelly. That is awesome. Clean and sober, see? And the thing is, my mother would have me go, we'd have these long discussions and everything, right? And she was so worried. Oh, yeah. And she was addicted to food too. And then she had books on love addiction because she was like, she had 3 different husbands and boyfriends in between husbands. And yeah, boyfriends during husbands. I mean, yeah. So, so my grandmother told her one day, she's like, Kay, you're addicted to being addicted. Is the program is very useful for the family. Yes, really helped you sort out issues. See, but they don't. What people fail to realize that, and there are a few that haven't been around, like people that are addicted to opiates or painkillers, right, or heroin or any of that, methamphetamine. any of those highly addictive narcotics or illicit drugs, right? People that have never been around that or had a family member immersed in that don't understand the fear that you go through. Not just, it's so hard on the addict to try to break the cycle and struggle, but it's so hard being a loved one watching it happen and not being able to stop it. It's a sense of helplessness. I decided if she could get help, so could I. You look lucky my emotional and mental health was suffering. Yeah. You guys are awesome for sharing your stories. You're so awesome for opening up. I mean, and see, when you open up and you tell your stories and you talk about this, it takes all the shame out of it, even for the addicts. You know what I mean? Um, it takes all the shame out of it for others, so that they can come clean and they can make that change and stride. Right? Yeah, you can't make them stop, but other people have been through it personally or have had a loved one that went through it. They can be a support system. You know, I mean, Blues, you're awesome sharing your story. I mean, because that is a huge fear for any parent to go through. Exactly, Chris. Hey, you had to watch someone slowly die that way. It's brutal. A very long, terrible goodbye. Yeah, it is. And it's heartbreaking because no matter what you do, you can't stop it. You can't, you know, okay, even though I smoke now, I was so anti smoking until I was like 18, 19 years old. And I remember being a kid and taking my mom's cigarettes and poking holes in them or breaking them, flushing them down the toilet, you know?
Thanks for giving me some ideas.
Oh, God, no.
And like you, I'm going to say fucking against nicotine my
Yeah,
entire
I
life.
think most of my kids did.
No, they didn't.
Most.
Most of your kids did start.
Kira doesn't smoke. No, she doesn't. No, she can't stand it.
I wasn't referring to Kira.
Lexi doesn't really.
Vaping is 100% more harmful. I wasn't talking about those two either.
Oh,
Wasn't talking about Nick either.
uh-uh. Oh, I will beat some ass.
Started vaped before.
Yeah, she told me about that,
That
but it made her cough a lot, so she stopped. Good.
the only time I did it, I was forced to.
Oh, you were, Kelly? You were still in your mom's stuff? You were still in your mom's that, you know, I do remember being like 13, 14, and my friends, they did smoke, or 12, 13, 14, around that age, and they smoked, and they're like, hey, go sneak some of your mom's cigarettes, you know? No, you know? They'd want me to sneak cigarettes from my mom. So you guys are awesome. Like I said, I mean, it's important that if you don't do it, your friends would tell you to sneak some. I'm glad it's becoming more and more taboo in a way. Like they've cut it, like you can't smoke here, you can't smoke there, you can't smoke there. I tell you what, I mean, I was driving like to pick up my daughter at like 11 o'clock at night, window rolled down, smoking a cigarette. Oh, it wasn't quite, yeah, it was 11. And a highway patrol guy pulled up on my right hand side, and I'm like, oh my God, am I in trouble? Because I'm smoking. uh, but it's, I get, you started smoking in high school. I didn't steal from my parents back then. I could buy my own, so I used my lunch money. I didn't even smoke in high school, but I had my friends come up to me and like, "Hey, go buy me a pack of cigarettes across the street." You know, I'd go buy a pack of cigarettes, bring it back to them. You know, they'd give me $5. They were like, "Go get the cigarettes and keep the change." And back then, what cigarettes were like $1.50, $2 a pack. You know, for Marlboros. So I'm like, okay. They give me a $5 bill, keep the change, sure. I made money. Mm, like that coffee shop. Seeing, I stole their wine too and blamed the quality for being the reason I got sick. Like I knew what was good or bad wine. Classy palate, right? Oh yes, oh yes. The gas stations and stuff. You know, see, and that's it. My mom thought it was important for to drill it in that it was genetic. We were genetically predisposed to it because by the time I was 12, 13 years old, I had siblings that were, let's see, 30 in their late 20s. um, uh, in fact, two of my sisters went to rehab when I was like 16, 17. you know um, so she drilled it in that it is genetic. And it is a way for some people to deal with and numb pain, physical, whether it's physical or emotional. And it can be what she would say, a coping mechanism, a way to bury painful memories, a way to um, bury trauma so you don't have to feel. That's why so many people that are alcoholics or drug addicts, um, they come off of it and they just are just overwhelmed because being numb for so long, you didn't have to deal with things. But when you come off of it, you have everything coming at you. It's like your whole world's crumbling, right? 90 cents per pack when you started smoking. Now they're $11. Oh, wow. I think mine are like $5 a pack. Yep, I know exactly why I did drugs and alcohol, and you're right. Yeah, yeah, you're numb. It just numbs you emotionally, um, and physically. You don't feel pain, or you do, but less of it, right? I mean, it's not as intense, but um, when you come off of everything, it's got to be just intense, totally intense. Um, I know it was for all my relatives that got sober. It was like everything was hitting them at once. It was like, I don't, like a volcano erupted and was burying them alive. The emotions, the raw, you know, and it just it's enough to make someone just curl up in a ball, right? Kelly, Illinois is broke, so smokers are slowly paying off the debt, I guess. Right, Betty? $5. See,
It's good
And it doesn't just affect, like I said, it just doesn't just affect the addict. It affects everyone around them because, like I said, the emotions that, here's the thing, they're numb, right? And then here you are going, oh God, is this the day that, my loved one's going to overdose? Is this the day that they're going to, drive drunk and die or kill somebody else in an accident, um, or asphyxiate on their own vomit, I mean, that was my thought. I remember being a kid rolling my parents on their sides because I didn't want them to asphyxiate on their own vomit because they were so wasted. Um, and like I said, my mom quit drinking when I was 11, so I was doing that at an early age, just rolling them over. And the reason they told me to roll them over so they didn't, you know. And no kid should have to know that, right? From popcorn, how you doing? Nicotine is very addictive. Oh wow. Hey London, good to see you, beautiful. Well, here's the thing. When you're numbing yourself, and this is not, don't get me wrong, this is not to shame anybody who's struggled with addiction, right? I'm speaking from my own experience as growing up in the household, right? Um, I'm going to give the child's perspective, if that's okay with some people. Is that cool? Is that all right with you all? Some people are good at hiding it and it doesn't affect their kids, right? I'm going to say that. And kudos to them. Kudos to them. But I think that in my experience with it, it was both my parents, whether it be my stepdad and my mom, right? Um, well, before my stepdad, let's just say my parents divorced when I was 3 months old. So, my mother didn't leave the house for months. She was in such a depression you know, of her life, having, what do they call that? Postpartum depression after having me, right? They went through their divorce, postpartum depression. So she would only leave her bedroom to go to the bathroom for a year, for the first year of my life, right? Um, and it was up to my siblings to take care of me, right? And for the most part, it would be my twin sisters who were 11 when I was born, and my 9-year-olds, or my sister that was 9 years older than me. So they would take turns taking care of a baby, and they were babies themselves, right? Um, I didn't know this wasn't normal. I didn't know that. When I was sick, they're the ones that took care of me, right? Um, that was normal to me that my siblings were doing that. Hey, tattoos. Good to see you, sweetheart. Um, uh, I mean, bathing me, feeding me, whatever. As far as getting groceries, my grandparents lived in the next neighborhood, and my grandfather would go and pick up groceries and bring groceries over every week and try to get my mother to come out, and she wouldn't. We figured this is 1972, 1973, so, we didn't have the knowledge of the postpartum like you do now. She was on Valium, like I said, and then it was like that till then she, then she started coming out when I was a year old, right? And then she started going to bars. Got a job as a bartender. She'd be gone. she'd be gone from like 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 3 in the morning. Come home, take some Valium, go to sleep. We wouldn't see her half the time. And this went on. She'd bring a boyfriend home. She was bringing guys home, you name it. Any old guy she picked up in the bar, you know? Um, Basically, my siblings would keep me in, like have me bathed and put to bed before then, so I wouldn't know this is going on. Yeah, I know. Um, I had no idea. I just thought that's all I knew is my siblings. Um, and I was happy when I did see my mom. It was like, wow, it was I don't know, like a rock star came, like I got backstage passes to meet freaking Bon Jovi or something. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, I was so ecstatic that they I would see my mom once in a while, and so yeah, they were so different back then. So then it became such a joke that um my older siblings that were teenagers, they would go out and they'd be gone. You know, there was the, 12, 11, 12, 13. Then I had siblings that were like 16, 17, 8, Anyway, they would go out and they'd go partying and they'd go smoking pot. And meanwhile, us younger ones were taking care of each other, or they were taking care of me too. So we raised ourselves. So you learn to be pretty self sufficient. Um, you learn how to take care of yourself, right? At an early age, you mature way too soon. Um, you really don't get to be a kid. There's no childhood. Yeah, my mother was addicted to alcohol and scripted drugs. She died at a young age, so you don't have to tell me what does that family to family. That's right, BB. BB, we've talked about that. Our lives, parallel a lot. Um, Anyway, in the meantime, she had boyfriends, a couple of husbands, whatever. Anyway, um, we would be made to do all the housework, which is what it is. All kids should have chores. I get that. Um, but you had to grow up. I had to get myself up for school. By the time I was old enough to go to school, I had to get my brother up for school, and he was 6 years older. Yeah, exactly, Kelly. You're babysitting siblings when you were 8. See, and that's the other thing. I was going and babysitting other people's kids when I was like that age, 8, 9, 10. I had like people that my mom were friends with at the bar. I'd babysit for them. I was getting paid to babysit. I thought, wow, this is awesome. You know, I'm I I'm so cool. Mm. But this is what I learned. I learned that that's not what I wanted for my children. If I had children, I mean, when I was freaking real young, I was like, I ain't ever having kids, right? Um, but I decided at that point when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was like, mm-mm, my child is never going to have to go through that. Yeah, my stepdad was he worked construction, and that's good money, right? And my mother was working two jobs. One was a part-time job, and the other was full-time, right? Um, at one point, she had three jobs, you know, and then she also had a social security check for um, us kids, survivors benefits, which was like $400 at the time. Anyway, my sister and I sat down and figured this up at one point. That and this is late 70s, early 80s, mind you. They were pulling in after taxes 3K, at least $3,000. That's really decent money back then, right? But they couldn't afford to pay $50 to $100 in rent. We could never have a telephone, couldn't afford a telephone because they were drinking it away. You know what I mean? They were drinking everything away. We would go without food. Only time we ate for during a lot of times during the school year. During the school year is when we had free lunches at school. That's what we ate. We were lucky if we ate dinner at home. If we had the food to eat dinner at home, because we could go a whole weekend without eating. Then they'd be at the bar the whole time. So, I mean, am I bitter? Nah, nah. But would I ever do that to another kid? Oh, hell no. And rage and want to fight and yell every single night. Oh my gosh, tattoos. Poor thing. Oh, yeah. I went through it, the gambit. Physical abuse, sexual abuse. But you know what? It made me who I am. And I'm not bitter and I'm not hateful. I don't have to be. I've been through hell. I have been through it all. And I don't have to be bitter about it. But I can make sure that mine don't go through it. That's right. You break the cycle, Betty. Perfect. Perfect, girl. And that's what they call, like, what do they call that? Multi generational trauma. Because, I mean, that's one of the things my mother told me. She's like, well, when she got sober, she's like, um, what she learned going through therapy, she saw a therapist for years after that. What she learned going through therapy and going through uh, rehab and all that, took her one time in rehab, was that she needed to confront what has happened to her, deal with it, and not bury it under the pills and alcohol. You can never go anywhere while I'm getting hurt. Oh gosh, tattoos, sweetheart. Yeah, that would be why you have anxiety issues, honey. Oh my gosh. But and that's the thing. It makes you grow up too fast. It makes you, but if you hold that anger, if you're angry, it makes it, you know, worse on you. Gigi, hey honey. Tiffany, how you doing? Oh, mom was Tiff. Oh, see, I tell you, the worst part is like between the. I was telling someone earlier, like that between the ages of 9 and 11, my stepdad went through, like, he rolled, and I mean drunk driving rolled 4 pickup trucks because he worked construction. He had to have a pickup. A lot of times camper, so that on it. Anyway, he rolled 4 trucks. I want to say between the ages of 9 and 11, because I might have been 12. Because the last one I remember, no, the last one I remember him rolling, I was 11 years old. It was my 11th birthday. Um, we were supposed to do something for my birthday, and my birthday was spent at a bar, and um, they my mom only had like $10 left after, leaving, and she wasn't drinking that night. And we stopped by the grocery store and they had leg warmers, and she goes, "Here you go. Here's your birthday present." Threw a pair of leg warmers on the conveyor belt. I spent the majority of my high school years caring for my sister and getting her rides to school. Mom wouldn't come home from going out the night before. It was incredibly stressful. I bet it was. Wondering if she was okay, making sure my sister was cared for, and trying not to piss her off. Exactly. You don't want to piss them off, right? See, the difference was, it's like, how you have your happy drunks, your emotional drunks, your angry drunks, right? My stepdad could go from being happy to snapping in a minute and being an angry one, tossing you around. You know, I think they came home from a bar one night, and this is when she decided to sober up. So I was 11 or 12. All of freaking 98 pounds, right? Soaking wet. Um, I hear my mom screaming. And my sister, when she went off to college when I was 9, she's like, when they come home, you need to hide in your room under your bed or hide in your closet. Now that's pretty sad. She was so afraid. Sorry. She was so afraid to go to college and leave me behind because she was so afraid something would happen. And she would tell me, you need, she would come home on breaks and she'd be like, you need to hide because I can't protect you. And I would. Or if I was expecting them, I would leave out the back door when they come home through the front door. And I'd run to my best friend's house, to her parents, and I'd say, well, my parents are out, and they're like, oh, you could spend the night here, Gingy, Yeah. But I was saying he rolled that many vehicles. 4. You figured that out. 4 vehicles from the time I was 9 to the time I was 11. It's like every 6-month average, and I'm not exaggerating it. It's just like he'd fall asleep at the wheel. He'd pass out. He'd be so drunk, he'd pass out. And I remember that I'd get pulled out of bed to clean it up because my mom would get him, and then he would have defecated all over himself, like from the accident. And then I would have to clean it up. They would make me clean it up out of the bathroom. Like it'd be all over the toilet, some on the floor, the tub. Whenever he got sick, I'd have to clean it up. And, I have a strong stomach, I'll tell you that much. I have a very strong stomach. But to have a kid, have to clean up that. You're welcome, Betty. You're so welcome. But I would want another child to go through that. I would never put my own through that. And that's what I learned. I learned that I would never do that. I mean, my kids think, I'm just such a pain in the butt mommy.
You can be.
I can be, yeah.
Like anytime we decide to go somewhere, it's like, oh, where you been? Are you hurt?
I know.
Like, woman, there's a reason I carry a pocket knife.
Okay. I probably went the opposite way because
you went the opposite way because of your own experiences.
Yeah. I didn't
You knew that you didn't want that to happen to any of your kids. Most people in that situation would be either like, I don't want to have kids because I'm scared I'll do that to them, or if I do have kids, I'm not going to let them go through that.
Yeah, but and then there's the third option. There's people that perpetuate the cycle. they think it's normal and they think that's the way it should be. So they do the same thing to their kids. And I would never do that. And it took me the longest time to realize that wasn't normal. But I knew
of abuse.
It was abuse, and I didn't realize when you're living in it, you don't realize that's what it is.
Because it's normal. You don't know what it's like with other families, so it's normal.
And yeah, I tell you, can I drink? Yes, I can go out and have a drink.
No.
But I don't. The other thing is, like, if I'm with my family, like my siblings, and well, half of them are gone now, but we'd have these family reunions, and they tease me because, if I drank anything, I'd sip on it. And that's how I am when I go out. I will sit there in my head, calculate, okay, I weigh this much. It'll take this much time for one drink to go through my system. And, so it kind of takes all the fun out of drinking. So what's the point? Oh, burnt popcorn. That is Nugget. She said, I heard a really smart kid in the background.
Yeah, that's me.
A really smart high schooler.
Yep. Proud of it. Well, scared to go to high school, but gonna have to do it anyway. Might as well get it over with. 3 years.
Oh yeah, you'll graduate early too.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky you.
Hopefully.
With honors. That'd be funny if you're in the same grading class as your sister.
And I have honors.
She'd be like,
I probably would be the only kid to graduate with honors.
She would probably get very competitive.
We already are.
Sorry about that. I'm also an addict in recovery. I swept everything under the rug growing up. Wanted to make sure everyone was okay. See, tattoos, you know what it sounds like? I mean, you probably numbed the pain, right? And then you were taking care of others.
Only thing I'm different.
You numbed yourself so that you could take care of others. Yeah, it is. It's a must, London. I mean, there was a lot of things that happened that I wanted to make sure never happened to my kids. But I am not angry, and I do not hate my mother or my father or anybody for it. My dad didn't even know this was going on, He didn't know until I was an adult, I mean, there'd be times I would freaking bawl because I wanted, my dad to save me. And by God, if we had a phone and I dialed that phone, he would have. He would have come loaded for bear too, because we lived 300 miles away from my dad. And that's the reason my stepdad moved my mom and us down there, so far away, because he was deathly afraid of my dad. And my dad he didn't drink, he didn't smoke, good God-fearing man. And he was 6'6". He was a big beefy boy. There's no way that. And my stepdad was like barely 6'1", and probably half the size of my dad. My dad would have broke him like a twig. See, and I bet, here's the other thing. I bet you have a high pain tolerance too, tattoos. Not just because of your name, tattoos, but when you go through that much pain, yeah. And my dad was huge. Yeah, he was a big boy. That's what I see, and that's why I would never. Each individual experience and each addiction is different. You know what I'm saying? Some people can function. They're addicted, but they do it. They'll numb their pain so they can take care of others. You know what I mean? They put themselves on the back burner. And a lot of people overlook this. A lot of people overlook that some of these addicts numb their pain so that they can take care of others. Some are, I'm going to be honest, some are incapable of taking care of others. But then there are a few that do things like that to numb their own pain so that they can physically take on everybody else's problems. You know, they're caretakers no matter what. I have a sister that was like that. She was an alcoholic and a drug addict. And she was functioning. Like, she held a full-time job, she had a child, you know, all that at that point. But she just did enough to numb the pain so that she could take care of everybody else. C-section, just an Advil after. The doctor, I'm allergic to pain. I've lived a crazy life. Yeah, you tattoos. I bet you have. I bet you, I bet you've had a wild life. Wow, you've even gotten rapid opiate detox. It was craziest experience ever. See, you know what? I mean, I know, like, when I had my C-section, I only had one with my first. I was so afraid because of the, like I said, with the history of addiction in my family. I know for a fact my grandfather was. In fact, my grandfather left my grandmother took my uncle and my mom and left my grandfather because of his drinking. Yeah, listen, like 1948, 1950. And moved like 300 miles away from him. And he followed her 6 months later. He sobered up. Okay, BB, thanks. It made him stop drinking. Losing his family and all. Right? We all have to make our own choices. And we all have to do what's right for us, right? To survive. So that's what I mean. It's like, I hold no anger and animosity for what pain that my mother went through that she had to numb. And what she told me is when I was 11, she woke up one day and they weren't prescribing her Valium anymore, right? And they took her off of it. So she was off of it for a few months, and she's like, she woke up one day and was like, how in the hell? What happened? I grew up. Like, she was in such a daze for so many years. I was all of a sudden not a baby anymore. And she couldn't remember me as a baby other than a newborn. And I made her take stock and reevaluate her life. See, I think you guys are amazing. See, anybody who struggles with this, and no matter how they get away from it, right? No matter how they get sober or get away from it, I have the utmost love and respect, because I saw my mother struggle. I've seen my siblings struggle. I know it's a hell of a journey for anybody. Just cut her off. She was sick, but didn't know what was happening. Yeah. So was my mom.
Yeah, look how light it is.
Yeah, good.
It's a 20-tone whitener.
Good.
I wasn't expecting it to be.
Oh, it'll be even lighter when it dries too.
I know. It was when it was
She's ombreing her hair. She's
not ombreing.
okay. Well, bleaching out the bottom half of her hair from her ears down, her hair, yeah, and gonna put color in it. I think it's like a teal or cyan. As long as you stop before you did any harm, that's a plus. I bet your kids are thankful. You know, seeing that as you get to see a whole different thing. See, I mean, I, that's the thing. I could say I feel bad, but I don't feel bad for myself going through all that. To me, it's like, it's molded me into who I am. And it's given me a better understanding of what other people go through. You know, I consider myself lucky. And that's another reason I would never, ever, ever shame somebody with an addiction of any sort. Because that could have been me. I could have taken that road. If my mother continued in it, maybe I would have. Maybe I would have went and started, doing illicit drugs. Maybe I would have. I mean, I went through a little phase of drinking a little on the weekends when I was in high school, but not too crazy. Even then I was the girl who got invited to parties because I didn't drink as much as everybody else did. And I was busy cleaning up after them because I was so used to cleaning up after my parents and their parties. God. Hi, Chameleon. Oh my God, honey. Oh my gosh. Pain from living in torment and the shame he made himself. Oh my God, honey. I'm so sorry. See, and that's why it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be thought of as something shameful or dirty or secret. You know what I mean? Take all of that out of there. Take all the secret, dirty, shameful thoughts out of it. Um, because it's really a disease. Like I hate to equate it to uh, autoimmune diseases that people get, right? Like I have Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition, and it's genetic in my family, right? So it's just as genetic as something like that, or somebody with Crohn's, or somebody with IBS, right? Alcoholism, drug addiction, same thing. It's it's a chemical. It's a part of your body,
It's a chemical reaction.
Chemical reaction, and
and your body starts to become dependent on it.
Mm-hmm.
It essentially mutates your fucking chemicals.
Yep, it distorts, your chemical levels. Oh, sweet. Seriously, I'm glad you came in here. I'm glad you came in here. I'm so sorry, honey. That that breaks my heart. It really does. See, and that's what we should be doing. These are the things we should be addressing on here. Helping each other out with things like this, supporting, taking all the shame and out of this. Oh, really, Kelly? Your daughter has Hashimoto's? So you know what it is. I had two siblings with it. My mother had it, and my other sister had the opposite of Hashimoto's, which is uh, grapes. Exactly, Kelly. There's no sense in the fighting. There's no sense in people being angry with each other. I understand why people get hurt. But this is more important. You know what I mean? Healing, you know? Helping others get through it. Being here for each other for stuff like this, you know? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say we all live a little, like, what would you call it? A little soap opera now and then. But we also have to step back and say, hey, we need to reevaluate, we need to heal, we need to feel. Thank you, Betty. I'm so glad you came, honey. Your brother had that is nuts. My sister had grapes, and that was she got diagnosed when she was like in her early 40s. So she had it for, well, I take that back because I'm trying to remember how old I was when because she came to my door, and I feel so bad because if anybody understands what Graves' disease does, is it's a thyroid condition, but it there's pressure on the back of your eyes, right? It does something to the blood vessels back there, and it makes your eyes literally pop out. Not totally pop out, but they get real buggy. And I remember answering the door. Like, I hadn't seen my sister in, like, I want to say 5 or 6 months. And then she comes to the door. I was living in this apartment. Comes knocking on the door. And I look through the people, and her eyeball is looking through the people. And it's popping out, like, really bad. Like, she had to use eye drops and stuff all the time, right? And I opened the door, and this is what I said. You guys are going to think I'm mean, but this was my reaction. I go, holy Marty Feldman, what the fuck happened to you? But that was the nature of my, the siblings, how we were with each other. With, like, you see, I get little jokey and snarky here and there. That's how I am with my siblings. They are all like that. That's part of our survival mechanism, humor, right?
Defense mechanism.
Yeah, humor is. We always used sarcasm and humor as a defense mechanism. But I said, holy Marty fucking Feldman or something like that. And for those of you who don't know, have you ever seen Marty Feldman? He was in a whole bunch of movies in the 70s. He played Igor, not Igor, Igor in Young Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein. It's Steen. Frankenstein. This, no matter where you stand on BS, drama, or community, leave that stuff at the door. Addiction does not pick sides. Perfect phrase there, Southern lady. Perfect phrase. And that's the thing. That they also, I don't care who anybody in here supports, right? I don't. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not. It's just, if I like you as a person from how I've interacted with you in other chats and stuff, I like you for who you are, not for who you support. Does that make sense? I just, you know. Yeah, she had to have, in order for her eyes to go down, like, she was on some type of iodine treatment. No, I'm looking, I mean, I was looking at the door, like, to jog my memory, because when she was telling me this, there was a door.
Don't make me think you're any less crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, she had to go and they literally went and gave her radiation treatment. And I think they effectively killed her thyroid to get it to stop. Really, I mean, I like people from all over. I like people that are fighting with each other. I don't have to like take a side. I mean, unless there's something very, like very um real life, then I have an issue with it. I have a real life with that. Yeah, they attempted to kill your brother, Cybraid, 2 times? Wowzers. Truth be told, some of this talk could explain a lot of the drama. True. Unresolved issues. Yes. Kelly, you nailed it, girl. We got to do a stream together sometime. I love how you think. I love your mind. It's just, I love your mind.
Okay, chill out there, Megamind.
I do. This gal is so sweet and so well put together as far as thinking wise. Yes, it was radiation to the neck because she was talking about how she couldn't hold her grandkids. She couldn't be around her grandkids, and I'm thinking that was when my youngest was probably 4 months old. Because I was like, stay with my baby.
My youngest.
You
know I'm the youngest.
Yeah, when you were 4 months old.
You could just say it when Nugget was.
Okay, so.
Correcting your grammar.
So maybe she was in her 50s then. Because she passed away, 6 weeks ago? She was 67. So 14, 15 years ago. So she would have been about 53, I guess. Kelly, and we were about to see, you got to, we were joking around calling it, I was joking around calling Team Red. Calling Team Red. Because Blue Squirrel's a redhead. BB's a redhead. Yeah. So any of those things, I know I kind of skewered off topic a little, right? But those things are genetic, just like addictive personalities or the tendency to be addicted to things are genetic. So nobody should be ashamed of that, because it's like, oh, you got diabetes, you should be ashamed of having that, or you have a heart condition, should you be ashamed of that? Then you shouldn't be ashamed of having alcoholism
like saying,
or drug addiction.
Cancer? That's bad.
Right? You still, or oh, you got cancer, should you be ashamed of that? No, none of these things, none of these medical conditions is stigmatized, but addiction is, and it's a medical condition. So that doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you for the kind words and a platform to have a few words. Life can be short. Never pass up the opportunity to tell a loved one how cherished they are. Tattoos reading your story help tell mine. Chameleon, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Like I said, telling your stories are helpful. It can help the next person. Opening up, taking all the dang secrecy and shame out of it, because there's no shame in it. Thank you, AJ. Perfectly put. It's when people stop looking at others as humans and forget that they are people too. Exactly. That's why I said it's a human condition. It's a human condition. Anybody could get it, right? I'm not saying that it's like, ooh, it's contagious. We know that. It's not contagious. But chances are, with how genetics are, anybody can have it. Yes, we are so happy that you came in, Chameleon. It is kismet, I tell you, because nobody should have to feel that way at all. And if more people opened up and let it be known. And see, that's one thing I did like about this community, you know, aside from the little bickering here and there, is that people have come out and said, yeah, I overcame addiction. Overcame it. I overcame it, right? Okay. Thank you. Anyway, so everybody that comes out and says, hey, this happened. I I handled it. I'm in recovery. And that's beautiful because it could help others that do need that. Do need to know that it's okay. There's a horrible stigma attached to addiction. A lot of people judge, especially the boomer population, which would be our parents. They look at addicts as gutters type. You're right, Southern lady. But they also look at not just addicts, but they look at everything differently. Every generation has a different, spin on things, I guess you could say. But I hate to say that a lot of the boomers are kind of dying out. I'm not trying to say that to be mean. It's just, I mean, I'm Gen X generation. Um, but I think if you look it up, I think Generation X starts in like if you were born 64 and after, or after 1964. So many of us have strong personalities and opinions. That's why we're here speaking in the first place, AJ. you know, uh, that's the thing. I am so respectful with those things. It's like I love everybody's take on it. I love everybody's perspective and experiences, right? Because I don't know what they've been through, but I can empathize to a certain point when they share it. And it's like learning this about tattoos, man. I tell you, I used to think that tattoos was like one just gruff, mean lady. Just one gruff, mean lady. But, you know, this goes to show you there's a reason you have, like, when you grow up like that, you have to toughen up, right? You have to have leather skin, you know, to survive. To survive. Kelly, you're like, whew, thought I was a boomer. welcome, welcome, Dana. I'm so glad you could come, sweetheart. Yeah, right? AJ, you see her compassionate side. Um, you see that there's a reason, you know, and and okay, I know people like I'm not getting into the politics of what's going on around YouTube right now, but it makes me understand why at one point she was so passionate about defending Natasha, right? And now she's passionate about um, defending Jessica. Caretaking. She's taking care of business, is what it is. Yeah, we all have our soft sides. We do. We sure do. Oh, Southern lady, that's so sweet. May Christ wrap you in his healing arms and give you peace and whatever your body and mind is needing right now, chameleon. Amen. Amen. See, and that's what this is. We get to be human. We get to be ourselves. We don't in here, you know, and that's anytime someone struggles with something like that, struggles with that's what I was thinking. I'm sorry to derail myself here, but the other thing that boomers had a problem with, remember, mental health. right? It was poo it, there was a stigma with that.
Still kind of is.
Yeah, well, not as bad. Trust me, it was like years ago. It was like
I'm aware of how it was in the old.
You didn't get therapy, you didn't get help, because they didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong, you know. Everything's supposed to be Pleasantville and ice cream sundaes or something. I don't know. Awesome. I hope it was a lovely meeting, girl. See, and then now that like I've explained where I've come from and how I grew up in that, and I broke that cycle, right? I broke that cycle. Um, it is possible for anybody to break that cycle, no matter how many generations it goes back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Like, welcome back, Carter. They also shouldn't use it as a shield for their behavior about gender. See, that's exactly right. Accountability is a part of recovery. See, and that's like, it sounds funny, but even as a teenager, my mom would sit me down and like I would do steps, even though, I wasn't, you know, an active addiction or anything. I would like, you can still use the 12-step program, right? You could still use some of those ideals as a non addicted person, right? It's an awesome kind of like taking personal inventory. It teaches you a lot about self reflection and taking accountability for your actions and making amends. These are all things we can do, even if we're not addicts, right? These are all things that would be helpful. I mean, it teaches a lot about growth, self growth. Um, hey, Virginia, how you doing? I'm so happy to see you. They were children of the 50s. Think about TV and American homes then. Yeah, right? Ozzy and Harriet, right? I enjoyed Dana's posts too. I mean, I've caught some of her, like I caught a live and I've caught some of her replays. I like listening. If I miss it, I go and listen to her replays. Dana, I'm sorry, girl, but you are so intelligent. You are so intelligent. I just love your mind. I love your mind. Jill, hey, what you doing, gorgeous? Oh my gosh, there's my Jill. I love Jill. Of course, Jill knows I like her. She knows. She knows I adore her. She knows that I was the first to start the Jill fan club. That's okay if you're in and out. I know that some things are going to go down in a few minutes anyway. Whew. Mm. And we'll all probably run to see it. Let's not lie. We're going to run and see it. We're going to run to see it. Thank you, Virginia. It's always awesome to be in your company, too. Um, yeah, see, Jill remembers. Jill remembers. I was like, it's been a year. I started the Jill fan club last year. You're all welcome to, join the Jill fan club. There's no admission. There's no um, like fees attached.
There's a fee for looking at me.
Okay, Southern Lady, thank you for coming in, sweetheart. Thank you very much. I know you got to get prepared for the next live. Wait, what's supposed to go down in a few minutes? Anyone want to watch? Okay. I think Mama Knows Best has a live scheduled in 5 minutes, and then in 35 minutes, TT's going live. So it's going to be over what's transpired over the weekend. Initial payment promise that fell through. Who knows? Who knows? Oh my. Oh, okay. I gotcha, Jill. Okay. Thank you so much, Kelly. It's always a pleasure to have you around. Your perspectives are always welcome here. Oh yes, I'm a mod for her. Okay, thank you, Southern Lady. I think I have a wrench there too. I don't know if I want to be in the middle of any of this. That's for sure. Oh, thank you, London. We should have more of these cleansing talks about, you know, these kind of things. Because, healing, talking about it, opening up, sharing our stories like tattoos and others in here have shared tonight is important. TT hasn't brought me up lately. Oh, well, that's, there's just so many things, so many people, I love everybody, And when I say that, I do. I, you know, I stayed out of the fights. Yep. I'm staying away from watching crime drama for a while. It's too much these days. It is getting very bad. It's getting very bad. I mean, I have I left for, like, I wasn't on for almost 2 weeks. I think I went to, like, jurors a couple times in the last 3 weeks, really. And I just started going to a couple different places Friday, over the weekend. But I was not on for days and days, like almost 2 weeks. I was so busy doing things around the house, taking care of my family, getting doctor's appointments lined up. I had a refrigerator repairman come in to fix my refrigerator, and then he only fixed the freezer and didn't fix the refrigerator. So they got the repairman's coming back to repair the refrigerator part of it. Yeah. So I'm not fighting and definitely not white knighting for anyone. Learned my lesson a while back. Subscribers end up hurt, and they do. Southern Lady, don't. Like, don't. I mean, just, I learned that too. I can be friends with people, but I don't have to white knight for them, because I can support someone, and I don't have to hurt others to support one person or another person, right? I can support a lot of people, even if they're fighting, you know, because there might be qualities in one person I really respect or love about that person. So I can't turn my back on that person just because they fell out with another person that I love and respect and care about. So my advice to anybody that wants to just be respectful to everybody, I mean, y'all are entitled to do what you want. I'm just saying I maintain that balance. But I just don't, if one creator is bashing another creator and I'm in there, I either leave or I'm talking to somebody in chat and I'm not condoning what is going on. I might carry on with other people in chat. Like I can go into a chat and see Betty Boop, and Betty and I will just, even Southern, we'll sit there and talk about other things, we won't get involved in the hatred or the back and forth. And I have no problem if you guys a white knight for people. That's up to you, right? I don't disrespect you or dislike you or anything about that. Um, that's your right. That's part of your personality, and go for it. You know what I mean? I respect your right to say what you want to say. Um, and I'm sure there are people that are arguing that you don't have a problem with either one of them, and won't do anything. But if you have an opinion towards someone, that's your opinion to express. So, and I respect that. Anyway, I am going to go ahead and close down for the night. I want to thank you all for coming in. I so appreciate it. I mean, not so much for myself or the channel, but for you guys. I appreciate y'all coming in and helping each other. You know what I mean? Opening up to each other, sharing your experiences with each other. Because you don't know. You might have helped somebody else by your story. You might have helped open minds, opened eyes, open hearts. You know what I mean? You might have helped do that. Your experiences matter, you know? Oh, Jill, you're the bomb. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm gonna let y'all go float around. I'll probably see you in other places. I'll catch y'all on the flip side.